Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another natural healing testimonies, and I think this is part 8. It's starting to get to that point where I'm having a harder time remembering which one's which. I need to start writing it on my notes when I bring them in here, and I believe all these are from the same person. Now some of them are her own testimonies, and some of them are ones where she saw other people and she saw the results using these different natural things. And if you'd like to see more of these videos, I'll be linking to the full playlist in the description box down below. So don't forget to click on either more or show more somewhere down here below the video screen so you can find any links I'll be putting in there. And let's get to these. Okay, the first one is about local honey use for allergies. I have always suffered severe pollen allergies, hay fever, etc. since I was a little kid and had to take daily allergy medications just to breathe and function somewhat in school. Otherwise, my eyes would swell shut, I'd get hives, dry throat, eczema, cough, and sneeze without recess, pulling muscles, and nose and eyes would run in abundance continually. When I turned 17, I moved out on my own and I quit taking them and suffered horribly, not just from the allergies, but from the withdrawals from the drugs too. Ugh. 4 years later, I met an older lady at a laundromat who was kind enough to sit and chat with me, though I was an obvious biohazard threat with my allergies flaring to extremes. She told me that an old folk remedy for allergies is to take a spoonful of local raw honey every day and then increase to your liking on biscuits, pancakes, or tea as your tolerance increases. She said folks thought that the bees consumed the local pollens and processed them in a way through their honey making so that people can assimilate and adjust to easier, lessening sensitivity. And that's what I've heard as well. And I've talked a lot about using local raw honey for allergies. I'd never heard of raw honey, and I didn't know how bees made it. So did some research. It struck me as having realistic merits, so I tried it. God really has provided us medicine everywhere. It took a month or two before I could tell that my symptoms decreased in severity so that I could function through different plant pollination cycles, but it was effective, more so over time, which would make sense as your body starts to build up more and more of that resistance to those pollens, that is. For over 35 years now, I've been able to actually touch dandelions and eat the greens and flowers and roots. I can plop down on the bare ground amongst clover, dandelions, and all kinds of weeds and grasses and feel rejuvenated afterwards. Love this. I haven't even had a problem with the hay fields that border 3 sides of where I've lived for 13 years. But the excess of cottonwood trees surrounding the acre yard still bug me, but only slightly. Those seem to be my biggest bane. These scenarios, especially combined as I've been doing, would have probably killed me when I was a kid. I fed local raw honey from whatever environment we were in to my 5 kids after they turned 1.5 years old, and none of them ever suffered allergies unless pollen was overwhelming and condensed over a period of time. And even then, their symptoms were very mild to other people's exposed to the same. So yeah, local raw honey is really great. And just so you know, I also, besides having a playlist on the benefits of different herbs and more, which includes benefits of raw honey, I also have a playlist where in each video I compile different herbs, foods, and so on to help with different ailments. And I do have one on helping with allergies, so there's also herbs in there that can be very helpful. Besides just the honey. So I'll link to both those playlists in the description box down below, as well as the one this video will be in. Oil drops for earaches. I was taught by an older born and raised outback Alaskan woman that when a child or adult has an earache, warm some mineral oil, can maybe use any liquid oil. She used the baby oil I was able to contribute, luckily offhand, to body temp so you can't feel it as a temp difference in a spoon and drop by drops into the ear canal. Keep that ear upright and gently, lovingly massage into ear canal for a few minutes every so often. Should calm down the pain enough so they don't feel need to turn head to drain for at least an hour. Premises that the oil coats and calms irritated tissues, loosens any wax compaction, especially with intermittent massages, and reduces inflammation. I saw her administer this to an infant in a work-sponsored 2-week-long fun group camp situation hours away from medical help. The baby stopped crying, went to sleep, and seemed to have no problems the next whole week, though the parents were ready for the dash to the ER. I'm not sure if or how often this treatment was administered. It was a big group of people. I just know the parents never left camp. The baby was content. I didn't hear his 5-month-old cries of pain after that first administering. So one thing I'd like to add to that is that I would highly recommend coconut oil, especially if you have any inkling there could be infection in there, because coconut oil specifically, even though if you live in a cold, cooler climate, it might be solid, it melts at 75 degrees or 78 degrees. So your body temperature is much higher than that, so it doesn't take much. And it all you have to do is have it melted and just drop that in the ear. And the thing that's wonderful about coconut oil is not only will it help the same way, it's also antiviral, antifungal, and antibacterial. So years ago, and I've shared this story a few times, Patrick had ended up with a double ear infection that spread from the inner side part of his ear clear out to the outer parts and was causing even his earlobes to weep, and they hurt all the time. It kept getting worse and worse. No matter what he did, nothing helped. None of the usual remedies people would use. I think he even tried olive oil. He tried vinegar. And he even went to the doctor, got eardrops. Nothing did anything for him until I remembered the benefits of coconut oil, and I told him, try the coconut oil. Now, this happened years ago, and we believe it was a result of a chemical exposure from the water treatment plant he was working at in the big city. And he was doing the coconut oil treatment, I think, a couple times a day, and in a very short time. And he'd been suffering with these infections for months before we were finally able to get a hold of it. And I think it was a couple weeks tops, it completely cleared up. So coconut oil is the oil I highly recommend, especially if you think there's any possibility of infection. Oil of mountain oregano for severe acid reflux helps calm flare-ups and over time heals to non-issue. My ex-husband suffered and tried it at my request with awesome results. He told my dad, who suffered horribly and only trusted the AMA, but he was desperate and, coming from another man's testimony, tried it. They are both cured, going on 17 and 15 years, and can eat sausage and drink coffee again without having to take the daily mountain oregano oil supplement for years, since they initially evened out, as they told me. I don't know if it's just any oregano oil or maybe extract can be substituted for the mountain variety to achieve the same results, but I have since incorporated a lot of oregano in my daily cooking, and I also think a homemade oregano, any variety, pesto would work the same. Maybe not quite as potent, but the pesto is much tastier slathered on bread, etc., than a few drops of pure oil dropped on the tongue or in a glass of water. If one is hungry, they get more bang for their buck with an oregano pesto. So I would venture to guess any of your stronger varieties of oregano, because just Mediterranean oregano is very potent, and the oil can be very potent as well. So you only take a tiny bit of it. And if you're taking the oil directly, it can be very, very hot. So you have to be careful how you're taking it. But yeah, even just eating fresh oregano right from the plant can be pretty spicy, unless it's golden oregano, which is very mild. It still has that oregano flavor, but I would assume that because it is so mild, it would take more of it to have the same effect. But here's the other thing. Oregano is in the mint family, and a lot of your mints, such as, peppermint and spearmint and so much more, are very beneficial to gut health and can be very helpful. Okay, garlic ingestion for bug repellent. My 6 guys love to fish, hunt, hike, and camp, sometimes a month stint. When I had forewarning, I doped their meals prior with lots of garlic. So it was literally oozing out of their pores. That's what's great about garlic, because you eat a lot of garlic, it starts coming out of everywhere. When you can smell it on people's breath, it's because it's actually coming up out of their lungs, because it's in every part of the body. And sent them with garlic camp meals. They experienced way less mosquito, chigger, flea, spider, no-see-ums, etc. bites than their non-family campmates. And no ticks either. I've added basil and oregano to test. Might help too. Added healthful herbs can't hurt. So yeah, garlic, especially when it's raw. I used to put, when I was single and living in the city, and I would, almost every meal I make, I would cut up fresh raw garlic and throw it on there. So I was eating tons of garlic, and it was literally coming out my pores, and people could smell the garlic just walking next to me. I dope the dog's dry food with nutritional yeast mixed with a farm fresh raw egg every day for a week before they go on the guys' adventures. They get table meat scraps, so they also get garlic. They run through the tick and flea infested woods for a month straight and come home clean. We give them a good bath and brushing right off to check, because they get nasty roaming. These simple add-ins also seem to help their digestion by observance of their stools after drinking naturally found, sometimes downright nasty, water on their trek-ins. I very recently had an obviously stray cat reluctantly trying to befriend me of its own accord because it was so cold outside. I am in the beginnings of employing this nutritional yeast supplement to the cat food. I am now leaving it out for it to see if it might help issues I can see from a distance that it will grant me to view. Not to bait it as a pet, but just survive the winter and kill the freaking mice. The Master Cleanser Lemonade Toxic Diet, published by Stanley Burroughs in 1976. The lemonade is made of only fresh squeezed lemon juice, maple syrup, raw honey, or molasses can be substituted in some scenarios, and cayenne pepper. His 60-page book explains the important science and the many positive results he achieved in his natural remedy efforts to help all kinds of serious ailments. He also explains how a daily intake of the lemonade without having to do the fast routine can be beneficial, just at a slower, more comfortable rate to help alkalize the body. And when my family gets sick, rarely, we just add some of this lemonade to our diet and don't seem to suffer as much as others and kick it faster. My family, 6 teenage to adult age men and myself, did the whole 10-day detox in 2012. Within 3 days, it totally alleviated the physical cravings for nicotine and 3 smokers and 1 tobacco chewer. 2 of us lifelong. We didn't even miss it or have any DTs. That's great. That's very cool. It was only the rote habit that remained to be kicked. When we were done, sugar was too sweet, favorite foods too salty, and raw veggies actually tasted good. The guy thing. Those that struggled with weight, joint, and different minor health issues felt better and pursued a more natural diet on their own without me, the only female pushing. My guys are stubborn. It only took 10 days of not chewing them for them to get the message. So that was a great share right there. Lots of different testimonies that she gave there. And so again, if you'd like to learn more or hear more of these, go check out the playlist in the description box down below. And if you would like to share your own, then send your testimony. Make sure you leave out any names or information you don't want shared in an email to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com, and make sure that you title it Healing Testimony so I'll know, or Natural Healing Testimony, either way, so I'll know which folder to drop it in, and eventually I'll get around to reading it. I still have a lot. I've always got a lot of these coming in, so it might take a while, but be patient. I will eventually get to it. So I hope you're enjoying this series. It does seem like it's really encouraging a lot of people, which is one of the reasons why I decided to put it together, as well as helping people to just hear the real life stories and know that these things really do help people. And sometimes, we get a lot of, natural remedies are poo-pooed by certain places out there, but they've been done for hundreds and thousands of years, long before allopathic medicine was put into place, and we can revert back to that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.